just while people are coming in,
Yeah, mate.
we've got a little bit of interesting activity, if I could share that.
Of course, mate. Please, yeah.
During the week, I was contacted by some nurses and their counterparts in different hospitals. One of the ladies that contacted me worked in ICU, and she was taking notes right from the very first day of this, because on the first COVID case that came into the hospital where she was in Adelaide, which was the first COVID case, they showed an X-ray and a scan of this person's lungs.
Yeah.
One of the, I think it was the X-ray, showed an absolutely totally collapsed lung, and the scan showed two perfect lungs. And this lady had been working in ICU for about 11 years, so she knew her way around what she was looking at. And she then pointed out to the presiding doctor that these are actually two different people. The rib structure and the sternum are different. And then she noted that they were done on different dates.
Interesting.
She was told to shut up and say nothing to anybody.
That'd be right.
And since that day, she has been taking notes on everything that she's seen through the whole process. And her and a whole bunch of her friends in 3 South Australian hospitals and 1 Sydney hospital are now sitting down writing out affidavits as to what actually physically went on. So this is going to get a little exciting.
It does sound it. Wow.
That's very good. And the other one is a lady who worked in data entry, record entries. She also left the employment before she could get any data for us. But her and her friend know the right terminology to ask for in FOIs, so as that they get right down to the pointy end of everything that they're looking for. If I was to write the FOI to the hospital or whatever, it'd be just, no, we don't have those records, because I wouldn't know what to ask for, right? They know what to ask for. So there's FOIs going out this week to 3 major hospitals here in South Australia, 1 in Sydney and 1 in Ballarat. And yeah, I think it get exciting.
Good. It could be an interesting time ahead for them.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. So we'll see where that lands.
We do need to start holding them all to account. So yeah, whatever actions can be taken should be taken.
Absolutely. But anyway, it's been a very busy week this week, and I've still got a heap of documents to do tonight, so I might only be on for about an hour. So but yeah, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah. No, that is good. It's good news that we're, it's not good news that these things are happening, but it's good they're being called out, and finally we're getting some people standing up from within those professions. So
yeah, well, that's the problem. In that profession, you toss them to the curb, they've got nothing left to lose. And they put that in an affidavit with a supporting documents, like letter from themselves. And one of the girls works, that one of her friends, she works in emergency. She said she saw a young guy come in and he was a real mess, heart palpitations, massive pains, They looked at him. He was on the gurney. She turned around, she put the documents, the clipboard that she had, put it over on the nurse's station, turned around, he dropped dead. Bang. And that was not recorded as an event. 22 years of age. And the other side of it is that apparently the TGA, if you notice the TGA report, the numbers haven't changed much on the TGA report. That is because the TGA is no longer actually doing the data, because the TGA is so swamped with data that they literally, it'll take them a year to do the data because it's coming in so hard and fast that they just can't do it, so they're not doing it. So what you're seeing is nowhere near the actual representation of what's going on. So we're going after that as well.
Good.
So that's my exciting week for the week.
Yeah, I've had an interesting one also, as you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so lots of things happening in my world. Cool. Well, I'll welcome everyone in. I'll get Magic just to do another quick housekeeping, please, just so that anyone who has come in since we sort of started the meeting about 20 past, or opened the meeting at 20 past for people to come in. So, Magic, if you wouldn't mind just running through that for us, please.
Sure. So thanks for coming, guys. We do have a lot of speakers this evening. So what I'll get you to do is pop your questions in the chat box. I'll be keeping an eye on that. I will get those over to Graham as quickly as I can, but we do need to keep on time tonight. We do have a lot of speakers and there's some pretty interesting stuff about to be shared. So use the chat box. I will be watching it. I will keep popping up the QMS website. So please share that with everyone that you know.
Thanks, Magic. And yeah, just waiting for everyone, like all the people have said they'd come as well. So we've got a few that we're hoping. I won't go mentioning too many names yet, but I'll mention Dylan Wilson. Hopefully he'll be joining us tonight. I haven't been able to definitely confirm with him, but did send a reminder. I'm hoping Craig will come in, Craig Oldroyd as well. And we are also hoping that some of the elders will come in tonight too from the Indigenous nations that we've been talking to, along with a few other people as well. But yeah, trying to pin everyone down and confirm everything can be quite an interesting time. And yeah, Wayne can't make it tonight. Michelle Boyle is still on her way home from the protest. I haven't seen Ross come in yet, but I'm expecting he should be in shortly, and hopefully we'll get a few more as we go. I think Matt's coming in later on, isn't he, Penny? As well, you confirm, Matt?
I didn't get a confirmation yet, but yeah, generally joins us. So
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, some of them may come in a little bit late, but that's okay. We'll get started. So the QMS, not a political platform, not politicians. We're not trying to sell anyone or promise anything that is above and beyond us. We've built a tool for creating policy on. We're trying to obtain full lawful jurisdiction for the entire country under the tribal nations at the moment. We've got some. I was misled a little bit to believe up front that it covered all, but it covers, well, we cover a lot of them, but not all of them yet. I want Dylan to come in tonight to sort of explain how we go about this process and what's going on with it, because Dylan's actually got a brilliant idea, and I'd encourage everyone to have a look at People's Treaty if you haven't already. He's got a way that we can actually have more power as within this nation through the tribal nations than the UN has, and it's quite an interesting concept. It's quite brilliant, and it would give full jurisdiction to the QMS. So that's assuming that that was what the people chose through a referendum. But as you're all aware, there's no real law in this country at the moment aside from tribal law. Never has been since the first settlers arrived. It was never properly, well, they never went to war with the tribal nation. They never conquered them. So under that, the land was already inhabited, and under the agreement that many nations had at the time, including Britain, they couldn't just come and move on to an inhabited continent and take it over without either going to war or signing some sort of treaty with the people, which they did not do. So People's Treaty is a way for us, Australian-born white people, to be able to go to our Australian-born Indigenous tribes and have an agreement that sets up a full basis for lawful law. And under their endorsement and agreement, we can move forward with the QMS, or if it were another, I'd like to see a direct democracy, but we can move forward with a direct democracy system that they have approved. So Until that's done, nothing in this country is lawful other than tribal law, and that's where I tend to sit with it now. So we are actually all sovereign in our own way from birth, but to be on this land, we need the permission and we've got to show respect to the people that we're here first. So, and acknowledge the land. It's not about, they don't want to own the land. They just, basically the only thing the tribal nations are looking for is recognition of their history, a voice in the way that things happen within the country, their own sovereign right to control their own territory or land the way they wish to. They want to look after the land and make sure that nobody destroys any sacred sites, and they want to make sure that the animals and the native flora and fauna here are safe and protected under their care. I personally can't really see any big issue with any of that myself, and you know, if they were saying we had to pay them, we had to do, they're not saying any of that. It's not about money. It's about coming the right way and approaching this the right way. So the QMS wants to be fully lawful within a system. We want the jurisdiction, and we are working very closely with a lot of people from around Australia at the moment to try to bring all of the tribal nations to the discussion table, so that if we can get all 369 tribes, or at least a large percentage of those tribes to agree, then we can actually give out proper, we can create that jurisdiction. We can give the full protection for all Australians under the tribal nations. So at the moment, we can go to local tribes where we live, and we can have this discussion with them, and we can obtain our sovereignty through them. But that's a little bit of a process, and for us to help manage it at the moment until we've got some overall agreement is going to be a little bit difficult. So the sooner Dylan can get his work done and get it in front of everybody so that you guys can see what you're looking at and dealing with. And I believe he's working very hard on it. He's actually a very, very intelligent man. He's got some great ideas. Once that's there, then we can take the next step, hold our referendum, and away we go. On the referendum bit, I am talking to business groups at the moment. There's a lot of very annoyed business groups, and some of them have a lot of money available. I'm trying to get them to pay for. I don't want funding. I don't want it to go into any account associated to the QMS. As I've always said, we're not about money here. We're about freeing the country. And we don't want to create a situation where we're seen like a political party or an organisation of grifters and shills, or somebody that's taking advantage of people. That's not who we are. We're about building a heart-based community and doing it the right way and correctly. There's a lot to it, and to explain it all in a short period is going to take a while, but that's where Dylan's quite good at explaining at least the tribal nation side of it and what happens on that aspect. So if Dylan comes in tonight, which I'm hoping he will, then we'll get him to explain all that to you a little bit later on. Otherwise, we'll do some interviews this week, and I'll try and pin him down on a Zoom meeting and get him to explain it, and we'll host that on the website and get that out to everyone as well, so that it's there and everyone can hear it straight from the horse's mouth and get a good understanding of it.
Graham, we've just got a question. In order for all that to happen, obviously, we need to get rid of a few people. So Sue wants to know, how confident are you that all the premiers will be charged with treason and therefore step aside within days?
Look, once we can get the jurisdiction, I'm absolutely certain there's enough people that want to have them charged with that. At the moment, the issue is charging someone with treason. Again, Dylan explains this very well. Who are they treasonous to? It's the people of Australia, but we don't even hold lawful jurisdiction here at the moment under the current system. So it could be done under tribal law possibly, but you'd have to get a tribal court up. There are the Bora Bora courts that have been established that could run through. But yeah, it's more the only real crime that exists on the nation at the moment under law and true law is international genocide. Everything else is, yeah, it's all a bit of a fiction, unfortunately. So we're trying to work around ways to bring it all forth and get it moving as quickly as possible. We too are feeling the urge of time. So we're on it. We're doing what we can. What we really need is, we've got all the groups going at the moment where everybody can discuss, develop and propose suggestions and ideas for change within the various systems that they are aligned with or interested in or expert in. What we'd like to do is really see that discussion happening, get the ideas flowing so that the people within those groups can start developing the best systems. We can't do it all. We don't know everything about everything. We all have our areas of speciality where we do know what we're doing. But outside of that, one person can't just come along and do this magic sweep and just fix it all. It's not going to happen. I've got ideas about what I'd like to see each system, and everybody does, but I wouldn't be the right person to redesign health or education or finance. They're just, you know, I have ideas, but whether they're the right ones or not, I couldn't tell you. What I do know is how to dismantle the current system that we have. I know how to create a system that will work, that is transparent and safe to use. I know what's required. I just see Matt Lawson coming in order to get that up and going. And I know how to implement it under the correct jurisdiction. It's been a matter of trying to establish correct jurisdiction and move forward the right way, as I say. And doing everything the right way is very important to us. That's why we've been very careful to make sure that we remain lawful, peaceful, and why we're not being seditious in any way. We're not interested in overthrowing anyone. We want to replace them. And with a better system, we can. But that's what we need. We need better systems. We need creators and leaders to step forward at the moment with their best ideas and to get involved in the discussion groups and to really build interest in what it is they want to change. And if it's the right way, many experts will come together, and that's the way they'll find out that it is the right way. And then obviously it can run through the process and up through the app. And once we get our jurisdiction, actually go into being an actual rule or framework, whatever you'd like to call it. So, hey, Matt, I saw you come in there, mate. Good to see you. So I think Matt looks like he's still coming home from a busy day. Did you want to unmute and say hi, mate?
Hey, how's it going? No, I've been home already. I'm just exhausted. It was a big day. It was really amazing, and more than anything, it shows the need for something like the QMS. There's a lot of distrust in this government at the moment, but I'll talk more later if you want. But yeah, I'm doing okay.
Cool. I'm glad to hear it, mate. And good work today. I watched a little bit of it. The other people in here, a lot of them know why I can't attend at the moment. But hey, look, I'm really proud of you guys for standing up for your rights. Having the right to protest, having the right for free speech is incredibly important. And that's another reason why we need the QMS as well. If you can have a voice and be heard and actually make changes in your country, then this will be the platform, the way to do it, or at least that's what I believe. And I believe a lot of people in here also obviously think the same way. So other things that have been happening is that I've been speaking with Ed Gilbert from, I think it's Cops for COVID Truth. He's got a lot of police officers that are coming to him, and we've been having a lot of discussion around what we can do there. We've got Tim, as he mentioned, has nurses and things like that are coming. Penny's been talking to some teachers groups. We're all out there trying to unify everyone, bring them all in together. We do have the platform where these things can really happen. It's just getting everybody together so that we can actually do what needs to be done and redesign what needs to be done while the jurisdiction is set up and while we set up to have the referendum, because everything still has to be done at the will of the people. I think we've got about 7 or 8 policies in the Democracy app. There is a downloads page on our menu in the QMS, and you can also get it by going through how to use the QMS on the menu as well. I'd recommend everyone get in, have a bit of a test of the system, see how it feels. You download the Democracy app to your mobile phone, and you can vote on any of the policies that have been put up in there. These things aren't real policies. I mean, they're things we'd like to see, but until the system has jurisdiction, at this stage, we're testing the process, making sure everything works, and that the process will actually work. So we need, if we're going to bring down the other system or replace it, or it collapses under its own steam, we need to have a system ready to go so that we can basically step up and say, right, okay, you're gone, we're in, right? And we do that through the referendum. It's not a coup, it's not a takeover. It all works on the will of the people. So that's
Graham, just on that democracy app, I jumped on today and voted for everything. So some things just say add a signature, actually pop into the discussion and put yes or no in there so that we know what your vote is. So it's a little bit of playing around till we get it right. It's all very new to us, so please be patient, but do pop in and just add a comment and say yes or no, whether you agree or you don't agree.
Yeah, I'm still learning to use the back end on it myself. It's one of those really interesting apps, and you've got to be careful about how you word the things that you put in as well, because if you misword it, you can ask for a yes, no vote and be right either way. So that's something we're learning about at the moment too. I've actually taken a couple out that I started putting in there and then realized, oh, hang on a minute, that might be a bit silly. It's not going to give an answer. So we're working on all that. We've also got to work on ways to automate from the website, so things will pass through using the process that we've created. It is very important that everyone can see what's going on at all times through the process. The biggest problem, as I've always said with democracy, is transparency and the fact that we don't really have a voice in it at the moment. Tim, are you available, mate? Are you hiding behind your kangaroo there? You might have stepped away for a minute. All right. Well, Penny, did you want to say something for a minute? Mention what you've been up to. Just before Penny jumps in too, I'll just mention one of the things we've been talking about lately is people have asked us a lot about what sort of financial system will we implement, what sort of tax system. As I mentioned, we're not a political party, so we're not going to make you any promises about that. That's all going to come from the people. But Penny's got some really good stuff she's been working on. And as I say, we've got to get the processes going and the discussions going first within the groups so that we can actually get the best ideas to come to the top. Penny's working on a little bit of a humanitarian fund at the moment that she's spoken to me about. We're not doing it directly as part of the QMS. We're doing it as a separate thing because we have to be very careful with the QMS. And I mean, not saying that anything will go wrong, but should something go wrong, money could be a very damaging thing to us. So if we're seen to take money, or if we're in a position where the QMS is actually taking money, we could get ourselves into a lot of trouble. Or if we're saying that a monetary system has to be a certain way, that's what people get assassinated for. We don't want to put ourselves directly in the firing line for something like that. I believe Castro was assassinated for that, the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war, and there's been others as well. Muammar Gaddafi was another one. They all tried to step out of the US system, which is the US dollar system that everything around the world currently runs on. And if you take that on, you make yourself a very big target. There are people out there doing that at the moment, and I wish them all the best. But you can either unhook the strings of the puppets that are running the country from the elite, or you can take the value out of money and create a new system. They're the two options we have. We've chosen what I believe is the safer, peaceful option for the people that are involved in this. Eventually, when we have the will of all of the people of Australia, ideas, suggestions like that can be implemented and financial systems can be changed. But day one of the QMS being released will look no different to whatever the law is on that particular day. It's going to take time. A week later, it could change. We can drop laws and change things very quick once it's up and running, but you don't want to cause culture shock by taking away everything that everybody's known, and totally destabilizing the country from an economic and I guess law point of view, because if people all of a sudden have a perception that there is no law in the country anymore, there's a lot of really crazy people out there, and you don't want people taking out stupid, vindictive, crazy things and going and killing people or hurting people just because they think they can get away with it. So there is a transfer changeover period that will be involved as soon as we become legitimate and we've been voted in under referendum, but everything's got to be done with the will of the people, or else, and under the proper lawful jurisdiction, or else we're just following the same path as the last lot of bastards that we're trying to remove. And we don't want to leave this open to corruption. We don't want to leave this open to problems. And although I'm prepared to die for my country, I'm not going to die for stupid reasons. I'll either die with a gun in my hand fighting, or I'll die because they take me out sneakily and they turn me into a martyr, or I'll die of old age. I'm not prepared to not prepared to just throw my life down in front of a tank that's approaching me, which is what I'd be doing if we took the money situation on. So we're happy to help people wherever we can, and anything that's heart-based to protect people and help people, if it's within our power, obviously, as individuals and as people, we can do that. But as far as the QMS is concerned, it is a tool. It is something that is very important that we keep it on the right path. Because if we take it off path and we start trying to claim things or make things happen that are just as fictional, we're no better than the rest. And as I said, there'll always be leaders, but we have no intention of running the country. We're not politicians. Leaders will be in things like health, education. People step up. Leaders will come forward with new ideas, and they're the people who will create the changes that we all need. And there's plenty of them out there. There's experts in everything. So we can't be everything to everyone, but we can give you a platform on which everyone can have a voice and actually recreate things. Sorry, Pen, I took a bit longer then to explain than I wanted to, but yeah, unmute and come on in. Thank you.
That's okay. Thanks for explaining that, because it is important that what I'm about to explain is not misunderstood as actually part of the QMS as far as funding. How do we finance that? You know, there is many different ways that we can do it. And I've obviously spoken to quite a lot of people with all their ideas and listen. But for a humanitarian project, of course, you know, we've all heard about the Save the Children, and this whole awakening experience has been focused on the children. A lot has been exposed as to what goes on. A lot of children go missing, and unfortunately, with the way things are with these vaccinations, you know, parents were vaccinated first, so that means, unfortunately, very sadly, we could see a lot of orphans coming through this, and yeah, it's sad, very sad to think about. But what do we do? What can we do? With me working with my local community and seeing how close we have become as our tribe, our local tribe, with like minds, and what we've done locally, you know, making hampers, getting funding together, and everybody's just giving. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, people want to help. It's time for change. So let's go bigger. Let's prepare for this time that's coming. And maybe even build some orphanages. You know, if we can just get some funding together, I've got people ready to donate thousands, but where do we put the funding? So that is the dilemma. There's so many different ways we can do it. Peter, I'll get you on in a minute to talk about your idea. But again, it's up to you, the people. We don't get to decide all these things. I want some input. What do you think is the safest way? How would you feel more comfortable transferring funds across to me to help do this? Do any of you want to come and help me do this? Because we're going to need it in every state, in every other town. You know, there needs to be a certain amount of places available for children to go to close to you, and you can go and help those families. So we don't want those evil ones to get their mitts on our kids, and it's very important that we get together and start this as soon as possible, I feel. There's many people, like I said last week, a lady went into hospital, she had a cold, they put her straight into ICU. They said they were calling children's services to take her 2-month-old because they didn't have the father wasn't double jabbed, so they didn't want to hand the baby over to her own father. The grandmother wasn't double jabbed. So, you know, in the end, the father ended up having 1 jab under duress just to take his child home. What happens when they get a little bit more difficult with this, and it's coming? So let's plan ahead and let's get together, get our heads together. I'm going to run a Zoom hopefully during the week. This week, I think I'll do it, maybe not Thursday night, Friday night. Got a meeting nearly every night. So let's get together. If anyone's interested, let me know, put your hand up. Maybe I need to create a new group in the website. Yeah, Graham, I'm going to have to do that. So, and you can all join. And yeah, so that's my idea. There's ideas around this, such as crypto. And I mean, don't be scared of it. Yes, you know, it sounds all new world orderish, but I mean, I think most of you have something to do with that already. You've been investing. So there's that idea. We could use the old bank account idea, but I'm just worried that, you know, they're going to attack bank accounts pretty soon. If they get onto what I'm doing, you know, it's going to go, but I don't know. So what's the safest way? Let's get together. Give me ideas, make some comments in the chat. I don't know everything. You know, Peter brought up some ideas of, they're registering births still. Every day we're having children being born and they're still going into the matrix. What do we do about that? Mike Holt's got some ideas on that. He's got his common law site. You know, we could do that. People are still registering businesses every day in the, you know, the system, the matrix. So what do we do about that? There's all these ideas that we need to sort out and come together and say, where are we going to register our business? How do we know it's going to be safe? Same with your superannuation. They're going to come for your money pretty soon, especially those that are not vaccinated. We're the targets. We're the first ones on the list. So that's what I'm doing. Humanitarian project, help the children. If you want to get involved, just get in contact. So I'll pass it over. Is Tim back? Oh, actually, we'll go to Peter. Peter, can you put your camera on? So Peter Hearn has got some ideas around this sort of thing. But again, this is just an option for you people to hear. What can we do with finance? You know, and it's not about the QMS. It's about funding, something like what I've just talked about. So Peter.
G'day, Pete. Pete and I have had a chat. G'day, Pete. How are you? Go for it, mate. Unmute yourself if you can. I'll ask you to unmute. Okay. I think you can. There you go. How are you?
Okay. G'day. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah. So I'm a bit new to this, but I was speaking to Graham and Penny this week. I guess I'm a little bit less focused on the QMS itself than I am on other subject matter. But I do see the QMS as being a valuable tool to achieve what it's setting out to achieve. I guess my focus is that what I see is, and you know, we could argue the percentage, but I would say that roughly 30% of the population either has been already or is about to be dispossessed from Australian society. It'd be interesting if you could put in the chat, those people that were at the protest, what percentage of people you think it actually is compared to what the government is saying it is. I think that would be an interesting indication. I personally think it's about 30%. And yeah, so the question is, what are the concrete services and measures that need to be in place moving forward if people can't debanked and people can't, you know, have their licenses cancelled and so on and so forth. So, you know, what, and I've heard several people commenting this on various media platforms, that there really is organically a parallel system forming. And the question is, what concrete measures can be taken to develop that parallel system? So that forms the basis a little bit of what my discussions with Graham and Penny have been to date. I'm not sure what else to say about
Can you
that.
talk a little bit about what happened in Spain with, you know, how they raised funds for the schools? I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, yeah. So I lived overseas for many years and in Spain. And I guess when I look at all of this stuff, I see a lot of people talking about, I just took some notes here, just bear with me a sec. Sorry, talking about healthcare and education and so on and so forth, as if they are somehow, we need to form some new government department or alternative government department to do those things. But if you look at the tradition of our societies, government never used to do this in the past. public healthcare has only been in place since 1948 as a post-war measure. Prior to that, it was all privatized. It was primarily the churches that built most of the hospitals in Australia, particularly the Presbyterians and the Catholics. So, and the same in education. I mean, every society in the world educates their children, whether government takes it upon themselves to do it or not. We all, as parents, make sure we educate our children. And I have some very specific examples of that. In 2008, during the financial crisis, Spain was hit very hard. And in the region that I was living in, small villages, and we had 2 schools across 2 villages. And the state government in that particular region decided, because they were lacking funds, that they were going to close our schools. But what that actually meant for our community, because the villages themselves owned the buildings and the land that the schools were on. So the government only paid for the curriculum and the teachers. So we actually quite quickly, when that news came to us, we quite quickly started to work out, well, we don't want to have to send our children to an amalgamated school. We have schools here. What would it cost us to actually provide our own teachers for these, because we have the campus to do it. And it was actually cheaper for us to do it ourselves. And we were actually very much in the process of organizing that when the government came back to us and said, oh, no, you can't do that. We'll keep the curriculum and the teachers with you. So in fact, we actually gained some resources out of the deal. But I guess it's an interesting example of where in that particular region, there's the indigenous people are the Basque people. They've been there since prehistory. They want autonomy from both Spain and France because they cross the border. And they, aside from the 2 schools in the village, there's actually a school system in the Basque Country called the Ikastolas. The Ikastolas are private schools and they receive 0 government funding, none whatsoever. And the way they fund this, I think there's 35 Ikastolas throughout the Basque Country. And we're talking about a population of just a little bit shy of 4 million people. And there are state schools, of course, but there are also the Ikastolas. The cost to send a child to the Ikastola as a parent is about 30 euros a term. It's not very expensive. So you might be asking, how is it that you can afford to do this? Well, what they do is they hold a festival every year. And the festival gets about 8 million people going to it over a long weekend. And with the proceeds of that festival, the festival is called Eriorats. It's searchable. And it's so well attended because the community love these schools and they want these schools to exist. So they attend the festivals, they fund the festivals, and that festival funds 35 schools. And they're really very high quality schools, going from year 1 all the way to university entrance, year 12. So I guess there are 2 examples that I have in my life of where, as a community, we can organize things. And if I look at Australia and I look at the way the government has really bulldozed a lot of our community organizations, our Lions clubs, our RSL, our volunteer bushfire brigades, our volunteer state emergency services, all of these organizations, none of them in the past were organized by government. They were always organized by the community in a particular town. And we have a strong history of this in Australia. And, it's very much my belief that we don't need government to organize things for us. We can organize things for ourselves as a community. And I guess that's my focus with this sort of thing, that we can simply provide the things that we need for ourselves. We don't need the permission of government to do it.
No, exactly. And that's the point where the QMS comes into it. And that's exactly why we're building it. I feel exactly the same. A lot of those services, look, we need services. We need a fire brigade, a police force, or a peacekeeping force, whatever it may be called. We need a way to keep people healthy and an education system for our children. But we, the people, should be designing it, not being told by a very small percentage of people who are basically controlled by the rich elite, which we all know. And we know they're a bunch of pedophiles. We know they're crook. We know they steal. We know they lie. I'd much rather hear it coming from the community. We're only getting this many ideas out of, you can't see it because of my background, but out of quite a large portion of ideas that could potentially come in. Now, I see Darren's got his hand up. He wanted to ask a question. I think it was with relation to what Peter was doing. Darren, did you want to just quickly unmute? And then I'm just going to bring Tim in for a bit of a chat as well. And because I think Tim might have something to say on what Pete was saying also. But Darren, if you'd like to just quickly ask that question now, if that's okay.
Can you hear me?
We can, mate. Yeah.
Yep, that's all right. I don't know what I'm doing. It's only the second week on. I'm not much of a tech person. So, look, I'm getting a lot, very frustrated with this whole movement. And it's not just your movement. It's Australia One Party. It's United Australia Party. I've put out for weeks now trying to get people to contact me directly. I have literally hundreds, if not thousands of people willing to join and get a group and a movement going. All I ever hear is and see is videos and explaining and hearing stories and problems, and there's no solutions. No one is coordinating a real action of effort to get things done. We need a plan. We can't just sit here week after week telling stories about what's going wrong. We all know what's wrong. Anyone that's on this site knows what is wrong. What we need is solutions. We need people to get together. You can't do this over we need to get groups, community groups. I started one. I met 30 people last night at my building where I am, and we're starting a group. We need real action on the street, not video conferences talking about the problems. Same thing week after week.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with you on that, Darren, actually, at many levels. That's why we've built this platform for not to talk about the problems. This is supposed to be about finding the solutions. That's why we're trying to get the groups going within the platform, and why we're inviting people to join us and join those groups. I will get, at some point, I'm going to pop my number into the chat for you, Darren. If you could give me a call after the meeting or tomorrow.
Fantastic.
I'd love to have a chat to you, and I'll get you in contact with Penny, because I know she's of the same sort of mindset as well, as are most of the people that are working with us on the QMS. We're sick of hearing about the problems. We're sick of all the fear mongering. We're sick of watching nobody do anything. The problem everybody has is you cannot fight a corrupt system from within. So politicians and politics are not going to change a thing. Lawyers and law is not going to change a thing. And not only that, it's all fictional, right? So you can change it fictionally, but it's not going to make a difference. We need a proper lawful point of standing. And that's why we're taking the approach we have. And Darren, we do actually have a really good plan for moving forward in the right way within this country, where proper jurisdiction will be given and the country will come back into the hands of the people, assuming we can get enough people on board. So if you've got hundreds or thousands of people that you can bring to us, you and I really need to have a good chat. And I need to explain a little bit better about what all of the back end plan is that we're doing. And it doesn't always get out in these, although I think a lot of people that follow us now have heard or have a fair understanding about what we're doing. But there are some steps we've got to go through with the QMS to give it jurisdiction and lawfulness before we can do anything. And we can't, we're a peaceful solution. We want to do it without bloodshed or firing a shot. We shouldn't need to do that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, mate, I will stand in the front lines when it comes to that, if it comes to that. So I've got no fear of protecting my family, my friends, the people I care about, and my country if I need to. But we try this first.
That's commendable, and I'm at no way am I criticising anyone that's doing this. Like, you're doing a lot more than what I'm doing. I'm trying. I've reached out to Ricardo. I watched another video of his tonight and had a young girl from Darwin explaining all the stuff that's going on up there. We know that everything they're doing is illegal. We know the problems. I'm sick of watching video after video, just repeating the same stuff with a different story or different result, or another couple of stories about ambulance trips and people having adverse reactions to. We all know all of that stuff. I've reached out to both Ricardo, to Craig Cole. I get no answers, and my brother's the same. He was over in the other side of Melbourne. He wants to get things happening. He's getting no response as well. So while I appreciate that you're probably overwhelmed possibly with response, but this movement's going nowhere unless we can get contact with the right people in the leadership and actually get something happening. Absolutely.
Look, the leadership that we have at the moment at a government level isn't going to do anything to change anything. I'm well aware of that. They're the ones writing this narrative. Lawyers and the legal system is going to fail because the judges all went to school with the same leaders and they're all mates and they're all in each other's pocket.
I'm talking the leadership of your movement, the leadership of like Ricardo. We need one-on-one contact. We need to be in the room. I want a seat at the table. Because I'm very passionate about my country. I'm very passionate. I've had my own business for many years. I want some results. I want to get out there and start doing something positive and not just talk about it.
I agree. Can I just say, I agree, Darren. And you know what? Graham has had many conversations with Ricardo Bossi. He's had conversations with Rob Cullerton. We've spoken to Michael O'Neill. We've spoken to all of them. But you know what? They're under the corporation. So what's going to change unless they want to get in from the inside and fix it that way? I don't really know what they're going to do right now. But we're the same. We want solutions. We want to hear some answers. They're just going over and over and over all these things. We're seeing it every day. And Ricardo had an opportunity to come in and join us. Like, imagine how powerful that would have been, but he decided not to.
Look, I think it's all talk. I'm starting to lose respect for Ricardo. I mean, he talks the talk, but he doesn't walk the walk as far as I'm concerned.
Having spoken to the man directly, I believe he's trying to do the right thing for the country in the best way he knows how, as are most people who are out there within the movement fighting their fight. But I agree, there's no point in having a fight unless there's a chance you can win it. And you can't win it, as I say, in legal or in a jurisdiction that's fictional.
No, you need numbers.
Exactly.
And we're offering numbers and they won't get back to us.
Yeah, mate, I've been trying to unify the movement for a year and it's not an easy thing to do, trust me. And when you have a look around and you actually go through the process of talking to everyone, not everyone is what they seem out there. So we need to be careful because I believe there's psyops within psyops going on at the moment. We all know that the government and a leader running one on us, they're being run through the movement too, and that I know. I've had first-hand experience on a couple of occasions now. Look, we'll have a talk outside the meeting, mate. I can see how passionate you are, and your passion matches a lot of the people I'm working with. I think we might be able to work together and find a role for you within this. But yeah, more than happy to have a chat and see where we can take it. So I'll pop my number in the chat directly to you in a minute when Tim's talking. So so thanks for the question, Darren. And I'm absolutely with you, brother. I honestly, it changes when we all stand up and say no. It changes when we take our will out of their system. As soon as we can get that lawful jurisdiction under the QMS and get the money to run the referendum, we'll change it. But we've got to do the work first. We've got to do the hard yards, like in anything. To have a good result and a proper result the right way, it's got to be done the right way.
I understand that. It's not sustainable, otherwise it's going to fall over. I do understand that, but I need to understand what that is. I need to wrap my head around it so I can work towards helping you achieve that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, look, very basically, Dylan Wilson, do you know about People's Treaty at all?
I did watch, was that last week? Maybe I was on a Saturday night. There was something with the First Nation people.
Okay, so
or there might have been another Zoom meeting or something.
When the country was settled, there was no war with the Indigenous nations. There was no treaty done with them, and therefore there was no agreement to take over an already inhabited land. So all law on this land up until now, other than tribal law, is, and that's the stance Dylan and I take. It's not necessarily the stance of everybody else that we work with, but that is what I believe is the correct way of moving forward is with the permission of the correct people, the Indigenous nations. So once we have their endorsement and they provide jurisdiction fully across the whole continent, and by doing that, I believe there's about 369 tribes. Dylan's trying to set them up individually as nations. Once he achieves that, they will actually be able to throw the UN out on pretty much anything they try to do if it's not in the best interest of the people. And then there's a process of having a referendum, so everyone actually has a chance to see what we're bringing in and agree to it or disagree. And then it's done properly. If we don't do it with those two things in mind and don't do it the right way, we're just staging a coup and we're doing exactly what they did, and we become part of the problem, not the solution. So we want to do it the right way, which, look, unfortunately, if I could pull 5 mil out of my back pocket, we're 4 or 5 weeks away from running the referendum and possibly taking the country back, or me standing in front of a firing squad. But, you know, I don't have the 5 mil. And I'd rather get the endorsements that we need, so that once we do it, because if we do it and then we get there and then the tribal people stand up and say, no way, we don't want that system under their own sovereignty, we're out. And we've just wasted $5 million, everybody's time and all our energy in building it. And I'm still going to stand before a firing squad, you know, exactly the same. So if we're going to do it, we do it properly. And I mean, when I say me, it's not just me. There'd be a few people on our team that would probably end up there too. And the next man that's going to speak, I know he'd probably be standing next to me. So, look, we're all prepared to fight for our country. We'd rather live through the process if we can. But I tell you what, I don't want to be around if the New World Order is brought into this country and it's made a communist country. Though I'm quite happy to take the firing squad option if that's the case. And I'm not saying that to.
I believe that is. I think there is a bigger picture at work as well. I'm sure you're all over other things around the world that are happening. I do believe that, but that's not the be all and end all. We need an uprising of the people. We need a push down from the top, and we need to squash these bastards in the middle and get these cockroaches out of there. But we need to have a political system, like you're saying, and I'm all for the First Nations 100%, to have a big say in the future of this country. But you need more soldiers out there bringing troops in, and that's what I'm finding frustrating, that I don't believe there's enough of that.
Welcome to our world, mate. Welcome to our world. We're in exactly the same boat. So I'll drop you that number in the chat, but I'll bring Tim in now, so I don't want to sort of type too much.
Yeah, well, mate, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
No problem, mate. I appreciate you coming in and mentioning that, because as I say, it's something I've been trying to get out there too. We can only do this in unity. As I keep saying, in unity, we will conquer. We've just got to get together and bring the right people together, and we'll do it.
Yep.
Hey,
well, I'm one of the right people, and I've got a lot of other right people behind me. So we need to talk.
All right, definitely, brother. We're going to talk very soon. Tim, would you like to say thanks, Darren? I'll pop you back on mute, mate. But I'll drop that number in the chat now while Tim has a chat.
Okay, cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Hey, Tim, sorry, go ahead, mate. No, yeah.
Tim to have a chat. I want to touch on something Peter said about what happened in Spain as far as the schools were concerned. It also happens over here in South Australia, but it's not a group of schools, it's a school. And we haven't had it since the lunacy prevailed, since the nutters took over the asylum. But there's a school here in South Australia that puts on a school fair on one day, but they don't have it at the school. They have it in the Mount Crawford pine forest, and they take over this massive area, and they have everything you could imagine there, from, you know, vintage machinery exhibitions to wineries to, you know, local food producers to home educators like tutors and stuff like that. And there would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stalls. But there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people converge on this pine forest for the day. And they spend well, they buy stuff, and the school gets a percentage of everything that's sold, plus you buy your stall space in the pine forest. And that school is so well funded. It is incredible. And then another school puts on a air spectacular once a year, and that's attended by thousands of people. And these two schools, small schools around the Barossa Valley, they have such brilliant classrooms and equipment and everything that the other schools don't have, because they did it themselves. They are not wholly beholden unto the government. And so, Peter, yes, I agree 100%. And it can happen not just with schooling and education, right? It can happen in so many other aspects. I just had a phone call before, that's why I went on visual. A lady, she's passionate about, you know, setting up what she called underground railroad food tracks. So as if people need food, we've got ways of supplying food to the communities, and things like this. The problem is we've forgotten how to think about serving our own community. We're at the stage where, oh, we just go down the supermarket and get this, or we just duck down to the shops for a minute and get that. Or if that day comes when you can't do that and you're unprepared thought-wise and emotion-wise and physically wise, like I have a good garden. It's not a big garden. It's big enough, keeps me busy. But we're all capable of producing something. Some can produce knowledge for children to learn at home schools. We could set up, if we've still got an internet access, we can set up homeschooling groups online where the kids all come together. They can teach them. There's so many different aspects of this that we do not need the government nor their permission for. The minute you think you've got to ask permission, you're thinking wrong. You know, you're thinking wrong. And we don't need to ask permission. We need to be able to physically do. I've got a little thing down the park tomorrow here. It's a picnic in the park. Now, a fortnight ago, we only had 50, well, I thought we'd have 10 to a dozen turn up. We had 55 adults turn up with a bunch of kids. And the words got out. Somebody wanted to set up a Telegram group and do this and do that. Well, that's gone monstrous. And so God only knows what tomorrow is going to bring. But one of the things we'll put out tomorrow is that this person has, you know, like we've got a naturopath speaking and this and that and everything else, but there's going to be a central coordination point where if anybody's in trouble, they can ring this number or send an email to that email address and somebody will respond to them. Right? So, boom, all of a sudden we've got an outreach situation. For those of us who would normally participate in a church service in Victoria now, if you're not double vaxxed, you can't go to church. Well, fine. Stick your steeple. We'll have church at home. We'll have church down the paddock. Right? We don't need permission. This is the thing we've got to get our head around. We do not need permission. Hopefully this week I'm going to get my signwriter friend to build a sign for my trailer. My trailer is 12 foot long. I reckon I can get a fair message on a double-sided 12-foot long sign stuck to the trailer. And if I burned up a few tanks of petrol driving through South Australia, getting a fairly simple message out, I think that would, you know, that helps. What Darren was saying about we physically need to be doing something, I agree. Right, I agree. The challenge is that in the physically doing something, we've got to be careful of what that something is, because we have to understand the people who have voluntarily gone out and made themselves part of the experiment, they think we're lunatics. The government is trying to make us look like everybody's enemy. And the other side of this is that we have to be seen to be coming from a place of change, but compassionate change. If we go in and try and explain to them that they're all a bunch of lunatics and they've drank the Kool-Aid, they are going to put the wall up so hard and fast we're never going to get to them. right? We've got to get a good strategy as to how we approach people. And as bad as it is, it's terrible to see these kids go down with myocarditis. It's just horrendous, and it's, you know, it's everywhere. One of the things we need to be doing is showing compassion for those families, and in that compassion, because they're not getting it from the doctors, they're not getting it from the government, they're not getting compassion from anywhere. If we're the ones showing the compassion, then this is the direction they'll come. If we're the ones giving a solution to these problems, this is the direction they'll come. But the problem I think we see is we've got that many groups and subgroups, and there's 10,000 Telegram channels, there's 1 million Facebook pages, there's all sorts of stuff. And we don't want to get lost in that mayhem. We have to find a way to stand out, and stand out big time in what we're doing. Now, I know Ricardo. I've had the pleasure of having a couple of cups of coffee with the man. And I too am struggling to get a hold of him. But what I look at is this, that he's doing what he can do from where he is with what he's got. Now, some of you may or may not know, his wife is in a wheelchair. Ricardo is her full-time carer. Like, I mean, even to go to the bathroom, that's Ricardo's duty, to pick her up out of the chair. Right? So the man has got a mountain on his plate before he starts. Now, I'm not saying that as an excuse for him. I'm just saying that any man that'll carry that burden and try and carry the burden of a nation, that's pretty good sort of bloke in my book, right? Now, would I like him to speak to me on a regular basis? Hell yes. Has it happened? No. That's the same with Craig Kelly. That's the same with Malcolm Wright. They're all in doing whatever it is they're doing. I hear, you know, what Darren was saying in regards to they're in the system. Well, yes, to a degree they are. Some are in deeper than others. Ricardo has not yet completed the registration of the Australia One Party. And there's a reason for that. All right. There's still time to do it. He's got plenty of people to do it and all the rest of the stuff. But strategically, I think he's probably the smartest man in the game from a strategy point of view. And yes, I would have loved to have seen him come in here and join in with the QMS. But look, people, I honestly think from where we are, the most effective thing we can do is whatever it is you have a skill set at, offer it. Whatever it is it's what I say is you do what you can with what you've got where you're at. Now, some people, I've got a mate who grows avocados and he's busy in one-arm paper hanger. He gives me boxes of avocados so as I can go out and give other people avocados. Right? Now, that's no big deal. But, oh, hell, oh, thanks, Tim. Oh, that's so great, you know. And it's building those links to people. You're building the lines of relationship with avocados, for God's sake, right? People have to have a channel to come to. And so what we're doing on our thing on Sunday, as I said, there'll be a phone number and an email link that everyone that's going to be there, if they get into trouble, there's a crisis point they can come to. Now, the person on the end of that phone may not be the one to help them, but they'll know somebody who can help them. And so within the community, we bring it together. I think with what's happening with the QMS, we do have a great opportunity. We really do. But the opportunity is useless if people don't know that such an opportunity is available, right? And I've been through the list here tonight, and I've seen a few of my friends on, and there's my good friend from Queensland, Maria. Hey, Maria. And, you know, we've got an opportunity, but if we walk around as secret agents and we've got this secret, we've got this QMS, we're not telling anybody about it because it's so exciting. Wrong. No. This is rooftop stuff. Shout it from the rooftop. Talk to your mates. Get it out there. Talk about it. Bring them. Don't invite them. Bring them. Don't send them a text message. That's rubbish. Get on the phone and talk to them. They need to hear your voice. They need to hear how dedicated you are to it. You can't do it on a text message. You can't do it on a Zoom invite or a what. No. The human voice is what will demonstrate how committed you are to this. And people will come based on your personal invitation, not a bloody text. Forget the texts. They don't work. No, that's just rubbish. Invite people. Come to the QMS, right? Come and listen to an alternative method. Come and listen to an option whereby you, the people, run the country, not the pedophiles, not the United Nations, not Klaus Schwab, not the Bank of International Settlement, not the Rockefeller Foundation. You, the Australian people. I just want to remind you this. I want to tell this quick story. The other day on the 31st of October, it was the anniversary of the charge of the Light Horse Brigade in the First World War. And I don't know whether anybody remembers that or not, or knows anything about what I'm talking about, but today people have Halloween on that day. Rubbish. The charge of the Light Horse Brigade was 800 Australians, and they were in the Middle East, and they were facing the wells of Bathsheba. And the wells and all that whole region is what we know as the Holy Lands. Now, there had been 11 crusades and millions of men killed trying to bring the Holy Lands back into the hands of the Christian nations. Then Napoleon had a crack, and he failed too. He got his bum whipped and sent home. But 800 Australians, now not 8,000, not 80,000, not 8 million. Now I want you to think about this from numbers perspective. What can be achieved with dedication, strategy, and power, not force, power. There's a difference. Up until then, the Light Horse Brigade had been under the command of the British, and the British were stupid. The way they had them charged, they had to dismount their horses at the first cannon volley and run beside the horses. It was ridiculous. Well, the Australians got off and they said, well, we've got one charge left in the horses. After that, we're all dead because we're going to die out here. And so if we're going to charge again, we're charging under our own command, under our own methods. And the English commanders said, do whatever you like, you buggered anyway. So the Australians, before they mounted their horses, they assembled in a massive big circle, and the chaplain prayed. And every man bowed his knee, bowed his head, and prayed. And I would too. You're facing cannon fire, you're outnumbered 10 to 1. And they're entrenched in trenches with machine guns. And these 800 men, when they charged, the command was, after the first cannon volley, lay low on the neck of the horse and hit it with the spurs. Well, they drove those horses under the cannon fire because they couldn't drop the cannons down quick enough. And the machine gunners literally jumped out of the trenches and retreated and ran away. There was 11 men hurt that day on that charge, 11 out of 800. Now, when they got to questioning the Turks when they captured the wells, because the horses could smell the water, they were coming. And the Turks said, we had never seen such a massive army of such huge beings charging at us in the desert. Never before has an army that big ever come against us. And I would call that a spiritual army. And that is a documented fact in Cole Stringer's book. Now, the other side of that is that in the scriptures, it says whoever will give the lands back to, like the Holy Lands, back into the hands of the Christians, their land will be blessed indeed. And from that day on, I believe Australia had been blessed until Australia turned its back on everything that was good and decent. 800. Right now, what have we got on here? 50 people. Well, what about if we had 500 dedicated, strategized, committed people that took charge of their nation? We think we need millions. It'd be nice to have, but I don't see we're going to get them. We might have hundreds of thousands. We might end up with 1 million. That would be more than enough. We could do a different sort of charge, but you've got to understand all sorts of good things can be done with a small number of dedicated, committed people. And that's you. That's me. That's your mates if you bring them on. So, Graham, that's about all I got to say, mate.
Cheers, Tim. Thank you. And you're right. I mean, like, it's about unifying everyone, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to bring everyone together for discussions. We've spoken to the other influencers, and everybody's off doing their own thing. That's okay. That's what they feel they have to do. I get that. That's fine. But what they're not understanding and what they're not getting is they could be doing it on this platform with you people and all the rest of the people they could be bringing in here. And along with what I mentioned before about what Dylan's doing, once all of that is established and put in place and we hold that referendum, a lot of what they're currently doing can be legitimized. It can be actually brought to bear fruit. So at the moment, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different. At the moment, that's what everyone just seems insane. We've got the something different. We've just got to do it a little bit differently. And in order to do that, we just need the people on board. And if we can bring the people, if we can get awareness out about what we're building and what we're trying to achieve and what we're doing, it won't be difficult. The people will come. And we know that. I always used to say, build it and they'll come. Well, we've built it. So now we need everyone to go out and, okay, like Tim said, don't invite, bring them in. Just bring them in and show them what we have, show them what we're doing, tell them about what we're doing. Share these meetings, share the other meetings we've had, cut pieces out of them if you want, and use parts of them to show what we're doing if you know, it's a little bit long in some cases, which I'm aware some of them can be. But it's all about you. We can't make the changes without you, and you can't make the change without a system like the QMS. So, because any other system that we have at the moment is not going to create the change that you need. I saw Dylan was trying to get in, then he does have broadband issues. So I was just, sorry, I was a little bit distracted because I was keeping an eye and trying to bring him in for when he comes in, because I really would like him to properly explain the aspect of his part that needs to be played out in this too. So it's all about creating unity. It's all about bringing everyone together. It's all about finding those leaders that want to step up in what they're good at and what they wish to build. It's time to create. It's not time to focus on problems. The problems we know. It's time to focus on what are the solutions. We've got one, right? Dylan's got another. There's other aspects that need to be developed too. There's financial systems and monetary systems. There's debt credit systems, banking or whatever you want to call it. There's a healthcare system. There's the education system. All of that the government has currently, the corporate government has currently been involved in, needs to be rectified. It needs to be put back to the people and restored to what it should be. They've had a hand in the Indigenous nations, and all they've done there is tried to genocide them, because if they kill the Indigenous people of this country off, they can then seed their law in place, and they can have the Westminster system or a new totalitarian system under the UN. We don't want a world government, right? We want a free country. I want to be a free man, always. I've always been a free man. Why should I give that up now? I haven't given it up during COVID, although they've taken many of my freedoms. There's nothing I've given. So, and that's what you guys need to do too, and everyone else needs to do. Don't give it to them. Take your freedom back by not bowing. Don't hold the line, as people say, but I don't like a lot of the terms we use, but it's true. Hold the line, stay forward and say, this is where I stand. When you go in somewhere and they say, can I see your vaccine passport? You don't have to say, I'm not getting the vax and get all defensive. There's no reason for that. Just turn around and say, look, I'm sorry, but I actually wrote a little bit of a thing on the website, but just say, look, that is confidential information between myself and my doctor. Regardless of my status, I certainly hope you will not discriminate against me. And just leave it at that. You don't have to say much at all. It's just that is where it stands. And if they turn around and discriminate against you, go and have them charged under the Discrimination Act. You know, if they stop your access into the place, take your business elsewhere and tell other people what happened and get them to take their business elsewhere too. Right? What we need to do is stop thinking of us and them. There is no us and them. We're all the same. We're all human beings. We're all made of the same stuff, the same water, the same atoms, you know. We're all connected through the same energy sources. We all eat the same food and or maybe it varies, but who cares? It's all the same, right? What we need is to unify and to understand that whether you're, you know, dare I say it, I'm going to say waxed or unwaxed, just so that the bots don't pick us up. It doesn't matter what color your skin, the shape of your eyes, it doesn't matter where you went to school or who your parents were or what clubs or associations. What matters is you and who you are and what you're doing. And if you're standing up and being the best version of yourself, if you're staying heart-based and doing what you believe in as being the right thing. And look, we know there's people out there doing that, as we mentioned before. Maybe Rick and Craig Kelly are out there doing fighting the fight the way they know how. But it's a fight, you know, we all know independents aren't going to go anywhere in a two-party system because they're going to have to give their vote to someone. And so what? They're going to get to sit in a chair and say, oh, I vote for this, I vote for, I don't, you know, yes or no. But eventually they're going to end up either being trapped or paid or taken advantage of and tricked into a position where they can be blackmailed, like every politician that came before them, because that's what happens, right? And you only have to talk to Michael from IMOP and people out there, and even Rick will tell you the shenanigans that goes on at a political level. It's an absolute joke. Backroom deals, I'll give you this if you give me that. We don't want that. We want to be able to say, right, this is a great idea. Let's get it up in front of the people. Okay, this is how we came to this conclusion and this is why we need it. And then the people take a look, go, that's actually a really good idea. We want that for our country. And once a percentage of people, you know, obviously over 50% want that, it's brought into being and it becomes policy through whatever public service that we have at the time. We have to restructure everything. We restructure the public services. So we're not getting the same anymore. It's a step-by-step process. You can't just tear down a government and slot a new one in. I mean, that's a coup, and that would be potentially introducing another form of tyranny into the country. And the culture shock and everything else that would incur with people, it could be devastating to many people. You get suicides and you think COVID's bad. Watch what happens if somebody actually manages to do that. We want people to be able to step up, have a voice, have a say, be a leader. And we want people to take those roles on themselves. Nobody should be micromanaging anything in this. From our perspective, we want people to step up, join the groups, get into the group, become a leader in the group, bring other people in, develop their concepts and ideas for new policy, and put them up through the system so we can test and measure them, and so we can actually give the system a good run before we get the Indigenous nations to seed their own form of, or create their own form of jurisdiction. And what Dylan will tell you when he comes in is that with 369 member nations in Australia, we will actually have more nations than the UN has signed up to the UN treaty. And under their own own dogma, under their own paperwork, we can actually do away with a lot of their rubbish, because they have to cede to the will of multiple nations and the nation's right to be sovereign. So if we got 369 sovereign tribes on the Australian soil, this country becomes one of the most, and it already is, except in military strength. Financially it is, and with regard to the resources and wealth within the country, it's a leading country. But yeah, we need people to actually step into these roles, to take on these roles and say, right, look, what we're doing is lawful. It's not, you can't get in trouble. I've been in the police station and told police officers what we're doing, right? I haven't been arrested. I haven't had that knock at the door that so many of the influencers get, because I'm not being seditious. I'm not saying we're going to pull down a system, right? And when people come in here and say, oh, you've got to rip down the current system, we don't need to. We just build an alternative and we replace it. If we don't get the numbers to have the referendum, we can create our own stand-aside society. And that was my original idea anyway, was to create it as a stand-aside society. We don't want to be divisive, though. It's about unity. We need everybody to come on board. We need everybody to understand. So talk about it publicly. Show it to your friends. Show police officers, ambulance officers. You'll get some that'll say, my dad says it won't work. He reckons it's socialism. It's not socialist what we're doing. Giving a voice back to the people under a direct democracy is not socialism. It's far from it. It's far from communism. People are still going to argue in the system. They're going to have different opinions, right? It's about setting the standard. And for that, we need the leaders in society who want to step up and be heart-paced, who want to create something new, to step up and do it on the platform. We'll get there in no time. We've just got to have the right people. And with all the people that have been coming to us over the last couple of months, I know now that we're heading in the right direction and that we have the right people coming on board. And as I say, once we get the Indigenous tribes and we have the referendum, we get the country back. So it's just a matter of us all working together to do this. Now, I was going to bring Matt in before to have a bit of a chat too. Are you ready to do that, Matt? You're good to go?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't have a lot to say. There's been some, amazing people talking already. Firstly, just a huge hi to everyone. I hope you're all going really well. Obviously, if you've come across the page, you're here to see what we can do for change in this country. And I think that, I think it was Darren who spoke earlier. I kind of do agree as well to an extent, like Graham, I've been trying to bring all the groups together for the last 18 months. And there's a lot of egos out there. There's a lot of people. There's definitely psyops within psyops. There's people leading people astray. What I always say to everyone I speak to, I say, anyone you follow, trust your gut. If you're following someone and you feel like they're just talking a lot of rubbish and taking you in circles, if that's the feeling you're getting, that's probably what they're doing. So trust your gut with everyone that you watch and everyone you listen to. With the QMS system, people like Ricardo Bossi and Craig Kelly and these other guys who are out there, now they are doing what they think is right. They think that the political side of things is the way to take this country back. But if we really look at politics over the last 30, 40, 50 years, the corruption levels are at such a high level that working within that system to fix the system is near impossible. And it may take going through these next lot of elections for those people to realize that while they mean well, perhaps it's not a way to actually change things here. And I think at some stage, hopefully they do jump on board and have a look at the QMS. Really for us now, it's about numbers. And for anyone who's new here, the biggest thing that we need to realize, and we saw it in Melbourne today, right? The way that we make change, people say protests don't do anything, but the protests today, everyone came from their heart space. Everyone was coming from a place of love. People were coming with education and knowledge. And the QMS is about bringing all those things together and giving people the opportunity to have their voice heard. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like in Australia, and I said this last week, we've been taught that we're the lucky country, but really we're just the silent country. We sit back and allow everything to happen around us. And we forget that we have a voice that is powerful. And with a system like QMS, with the referendum-based system, everyone has the opportunity to have their voice heard. Now, maybe Graham, your father saying, you know, this system's all about everyone being on the same page or socialism or whatever else. We're going to have a lot of times where votes get split right down the middle. We're going to have times where it's 80-20. We're going to have, that's the beauty of a system like this, is whatever people put forwards, if enough people get behind it, it then goes out to the whole populace, and the populace makes the decision. And if it's 51-49, at least the 49 know that it's gone through a correct system that's not corrupt to have the decision put in place. And the beauty of a system like this is, if we put something in place and it doesn't work, all you have to do is have enough people say, this is shit, it's not working, let's put it to another referendum. The ones who see it's not working are going to jump across from the 49 to the 51 and change the system. So it can really work. It's really about getting it out to as many people as possible. We need people to continue to have the conversation about whether people trust the government or not. And I really think it's important for us to have the conversations. And my challenge, I've done it on my page about this pandemic bill, but I'll do it to you guys in here. The real challenge now is to have those conversations. It's really easy to see an idea, to like it, to feel like it sounds good and it makes sense. But you need to come up with your own language to have the conversation about it. So whenever I talk about the QMS with people, I say to them, what do you think about lockdowns? Nearly every time they say lockdowns are shit. I hate them. The kids are missing school. They're suffering. My husband lost work. My wife lost work. We're getting coerced towards getting the jab. Whether people are jabbed or not, if you have that conversation and you find common ground that they don't like lockdowns, they don't like the coercion, they don't trust the government. Once you find that common ground, say to them, there's a system that's been put together, a man named Graham Turner that some people think is a crazy man, but he's got this idea. It's out there. All you need to do is jump on the site, put an idea out there, and it doesn't matter what your idea is. If enough people jump on board, we can then run a referendum and you have as much say as everyone else around you in what happens with your country. And you actually have the opportunity to live in a country that is free, a country that is heartfelt. So it's coming from a place of people's heart thoughts and not just from an economic standpoint of greed. We're living in a country now that's run by greed. And that's a worldwide phenomenon. That's the biggest virus right now. And we have a chance to change it. So just get out there. I challenge you all to have the conversation. Talk to your friends and talk to your families. Find that common ground, whether they're jabbed or not. Give everyone a hug, have a chat, and bring them on board and get them to have a look at what's going on here. And again, Graham, huge thanks to you. Penny, putting in so much work in the background. Tim, Magic, all you guys are doing so much. And I've been a little bit AWOL lately because I've been feeling a bit off, but I'm back on board. So let's really give this a big push and see where we can go with it. And, it's version 1. So if this gets out there and, we want to learn, and with anything, and this is where Graham's great, the best ideas out there adapt as they go along. And the beauty of something like QMS is it can adapt as you learn, as you move through it. And if we all work together, even if we have differences of opinion, that doesn't matter. We don't wipe out differences of opinion. We want to hear everyone's diversity, everyone's differences of opinion. We find common ground on our thought processes, but we don't have to agree on everything. And that's the beauty of a true democracy. And that's where we're heading now if we can get this up and running. So thanks everyone for jumping on board. Thanks, Graham, for the opportunity to work alongside you and to help with this. And let's really get it pumping along now.
Hey, can I just say something, Graham?
Of course.
Hey, if Matt Lawson did a video on the QMS, wouldn't you all share it? I'm putting you on the spot, Matt. I'm putting you on the spot.
We've got a lot of nods there, mate. So
yeah, we need you to do a 5-minute video saying exactly what you just said. And I'm pretty sure if we all shared that out, we would get thousands of people next week.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'll do one. Maybe tomorrow morning I'll do something and put it together and we'll get it out there, yeah?
Cheers, brother.
And the same for Tim Dwyer.
Yeah, Tim's got to do one too. That's the bet, Tim. You do one, I do one. Deal.
But we all do one.
Everyone do one.
Yeah.
I think Tim dropped out a little during the discussion earlier on, but
okay.
I'll have it. I keep reminding Tim to do it. I just haven't seen it come through yet. So
Heidi, I just want to give Heidi a shout out because she's been at the protest today talking to everyone about the QMS. She's given everyone my phone number and I'm like, oh my God, who's going to be calling me? You know, but like, just give her a shout out, everyone. She's done a great job today. She's been at the protest, just talking to everyone about the QMS. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. We appreciate it. And same, Matt. I love you. Look, Matt does a lot of great things anyway, right? And he's a busy man. And I look, Matt's a true warrior. Heidi's another one. I mean, Penny, obviously, Tim. These people, look, they're heart-based warriors, and that's what we need. We need people to be leaders within their field. To look, if all you can do is go out and talk to people about the QMS, go out and talk to them about it. That's what we need.
And can I throw something out there, Graham, really quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
Just Darren, who spoke earlier. I don't know if he's still on here. Darren, are you around yet?
No.
I think he's not here.
No.
I'm not sure. I did get my. Yes.
Oh no, he's still here.
Oh,
he's still
yeah,
here. So Darren, people like you are the ones that make the biggest changes, and you need to remember, as frustrated as you've been feeling, your passion and your drive is what we need of everyday Australians. So what you said earlier was so beautiful, and maybe people take that across and say, oh, someone sounds like they're disgruntled or whatever else. Use that passion and we'll give you a spot and we'll give you a platform, because there is space in this country for people like you, and it's everyday citizens. All of us have the power to change this, and we've been taught that we don't have any power at all. And the slave system has taken that away from everyone. So please remember, all of you have the power to change this. Don't feel like your words are falling on deaf ears. Come onto this, bring your friends onto this, and we will utilize everyone. Not we, you can utilize yourself. You're the leader of your own destiny here, and you will make a difference to this country, I promise you. So thanks a lot, Darren, for speaking up.
Absolutely. And cheers, Matt, again, love it. And yeah, Darren, please give me a call. I dropped my number in the chat before. If you haven't got it, please let one of us know, or touch base with Penny, and Penny will get you in contact with me or Magic. But please, yeah, we need people who want to stand up and actually, and even if you don't want to stand up, I never wanted to have to stand up and do this, but here I am. You've got to step into your leadership shoes now. It's time to show us what you have to create. You know, that's how we're going to win this, is through heart-based, standing in truth, creation of new systems, processes, and ways of doing things. But again, it's all got to be put through the system for the vote, and it's all got to be based in the will of the people. So if you do something heart-based, if you build a good system, it's not going to be hard to sell. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here with the QMS. And look, as Matt mentioned, it's version 1.0. I want to make it more user-friendly. I want to make it less of a truthing platform where we're trying to wake everyone up, because we're all awake at the moment. We will get the masses in, but we might scare them away if it remains just a truthing platform. I'd like to see a couple of truthing groups started in there so that we can do that sort of thing and share the information around in there. But within the health and education and the other areas that we have, we should be sticking on topic and not trying to scare people with what we've got. This is where we put our solutions forward. This is where we have our real discussions. This is where we bring forth ideas and content that can actually create the change. If you want to share health information within it, that's great, do it, but create a health sharing information for that sort of thing and have the actual health care structure for that. So everything can have its own direct purpose. And that's, look, we're learning as we go too. I'm learning as I go. Everybody does. When we started this out, we were starting with the 1901 Constitution as a lawful point in time to unhook us from the system. And in a way, that still works, right? But it would never hold any true jurisdiction without the permission and the endorsement and jurisdiction of the tribal nations. So we need to get that first. That's our first stepping point. So if any of you guys know any activists working with tribal nations in any states or areas around Australia, please bring them into Penny or myself or Magic or Tim or one of the people that works on the steering team. We're not that hard to find. We're all over Facebook. And bring them into our groups on Facebook or even on the QMS site. You can talk to admin through the chat. So there's all sorts of things. I get plenty of people approach me through the chat in there and share people in there as well. Now, we do have a lot of people coming in to volunteer, but often because we don't know what their skills are, we don't really know what we can do with them until we've had that chat. And it takes a while to get through everyone. So if you can pre-qualify yourself or pre-qualify people and bring them in, that just makes it a lot easier. If we see that this guy here has an idea about a new healthcare system, and this lady over here has a great new education system that she's developing, use our platform, do it. And if you want our input, we're happy to provide it. But this is something you guys do on, you can do it yourself. And I'm sure every single one of you, you're intelligent people, otherwise you wouldn't be looking at this system that we have, the current system I'm talking about. You wouldn't be looking at it and shaking your head and going, this isn't for me. And you wouldn't be looking for something alternative, right? So you're obviously intelligent enough to be awake to see that the system's stuffed and to seek a better option. The option's not going out and hurting people or destroying things, it's creating. That's the way forward, it's create. And this is something I've learned from the Indigenous people I've been speaking to too, right? They don't want to hurt anyone, they don't want to kill anyone. We can have treason trials later on if that's what we want to do. And look, there's some people I wouldn't even mind pulling the lever on myself, but I'm not a violent person, and I've been hurt in my own ways through this, and that's something I have to swallow and forgive and move on from. And that's what I guess I'm saying we all need to start thinking about doing, is we need to start really forgiving those out there, the facts that have hurt us, our families that we've walked away from or have walked away from us, the families that have pushed us out for being crazy. Let's forgive them, right? We don't have to be part of them again. We don't even have to ever talk to them if we don't want to, but let's forgive them in our own heart and keep moving forward, because that's when we create the right sort of energy that we need within ourselves to actually begin creating something worthwhile. And for those that are spiritual and believe in manifestation, the only point to come, be careful what you wish for when you're in a bad mood, I can promise you, because it'll come to you, but it will not come to you the way you want it to. And I'm talking firsthand on that. So if you want to manifest, it's best to come from a pure heart space. But I'm not here to talk to people about my spirituality or my beliefs. I'm here to tell you that the system's corrupt. We've got a new one. We want to bring people on board. If everyone goes and asks 5 people, convinces them that this is the way to go, and you don't have to convince them, just show them what we've got. They can convince themselves. If they've got questions, get them onto the site, get them to read the documents, and if necessary, get them in contact with one of the people working with us or one of the people that is really out there selling what we're doing, because those people are taking the time to learn about it and to get a good understanding of it. And look, there's so much going on, and so many people have approached me. A lot of people don't realize, but I've been offered a lot of money. In the first few months, I worked with a certain person whose name is also the same as mine. He took me to see 5 millionaires who were offering to put up great deals of money and pay me. And one of them even wanted to sell it to the councils. And I'm like, no way. Right? I don't want money for it. I don't want to destroy the integrity of it. This is my gift to the Australian people. This is what it was given to me by the universe through downloads. I've written it down. That's what I did, and then I've promoted it. And then I've done the website, and I've done a lot of work, but that doesn't matter, right? What matters is we've got it now, and we've got great people working together to bring it forth and unify everyone. And that's what we need, because as I've always said, in unity, we'll conquer. And conquer's the wrong word now, but it's the truth. In unity, we'll win, we'll conquer. So I don't want the corruption. I don't want the corporates. I want to get out of the system too, as much as anybody. Truth is, in the current way things are, we're all a bit stuck. But if we all get out there and become heart-based creators and being altruistic and doing it for other people, not for ourselves, and that's where you'll get the best results. And again, I'm talking firsthand here too. If I tried to do this and make money for it, not one of you would be sitting here now, right? The universe wouldn't work that way for me. It would have just all fallen in a heap. So the way that things are coming together, I'm pretty sure that the Creator's guiding what we're doing, and I'm getting signs all the time that back that up. So all I can do is just keep going forward, step by step, knowing that the right things will come at the right time and the right people will materialize at the right time. So now we have been sort of dominating the floor a little bit tonight, and I apologize for that. But if anybody's got any questions, now would be the time to sort of put your hand up, and please come in and we'll invite you in to ask your question.
I know Warren's been a bit busy. involved in the serving of the case for Daniel Andrews. So I just wanted to talk about that because I know a lot of people were asking if that's okay. If we can
Warren, you're the guy that did that, are you? I'd love to.
here's a part of it. Yeah. Come
Okay.
in, take
Come
yourself
in,
off. Yeah.
Sure. How you going, everyone? Thanks, Penny. How you going? Yeah,
G'day.
good. I've had an association with Penny for a year and a half so now, and I've been following Tim Dwyer for a couple of years as well, and I guess I sort of met Brian Shaw about 4 or 5 months ago now, and Brian sort of, he's been showing me the way of, how they've removed the Crown from the Constitution, and without referendum. He always says without referendum, and it's sort of it was a totally different concept for me from everything else I'd been doing. I'd been going to Crown meetings and Educate for Protection and whatever, all these other different groups trying to learn about the law, and then sort of Brian comes out with this, the Crown's been removed, and so it was sort of hard to get my head around it to start with. But what sort of happened lately, I guess, is that it's sort of starting to sink in there. And one thing I will say is I do respect and I do believe in that whole concept that Dylan pushes, that we're sitting on this land unlawfully because there was never a treaty with the native people. But having said that, I certainly do believe that there is some sort of law here, and us as whatever Anglo type people or whatever we are, we're obviously not Indigenous, live under this system that we live under. We live in the beast. It's the beast system, really. It's the beast system, and we're all attached to it, unfortunately. But it's what I'm getting at is it's good to say that we can go down that road and create new treaties with the native people, but at the same time, we have to sort of use the law or the systems that are in place there, the law systems, however construed they are, and however corrupt they are, and how offbeat, and how they're all tied to different acts and state acts, and they're all in conflict with everything, is that we have to beat them with their own game. And it's the fact that Brian, he's coached a group up in the high country, up in Wangaratta there at Bright, to create the documents, serve them in the Myrtleford court, and they stamped them in that court, and he served those papers the other day at his Noble Park office in Melbourne, and Daniel Andrews is supposed to appear in Myrtleford Court on the 17th of December this year, which is exciting and gives people hope that that these people can be brought to justice. Let's hope that the angle that Brian goes down is he's calling for a common law grand jury, right? He believes that's the only way you can keep judges out of the system, to have it properly prosecuted, a fair and just system through a grand jury, because the jury will sit there and they'll look at the evidence and they look at the law and they make the decision, and if we can get it there, if we can get it up through all the different courts and have it signed off to get up to that process, that's the hope of everyone, I guess, So, today we've as a group of us up in the Macedon Ranges, that we all sort of live close to Brian. There was a few of us that live close to Brian up in that area, and we sort of meet every week. And we've been able to develop a letter that we can give to the 11 senators, and those 11 senators, we're putting the pressure on them. This is the idea. We have to put the pressure on these people to remind them that Daniel Andrews has been charged for misprision of treason and fraud. And if they continue to conceal that, then we can go and lay a charge on them. At the end of the day, a private citizen can lay a charge on anyone. You know, it's just a matter of knowing the know-how. You know, and I mean, I've just uploaded all the documents there to the chat, right? I'm not sure. I think I put the charge up there, but you know, what can happen from here is I went to Marianne Thomas's office this afternoon, and I went to deliver a notice and acknowledgement letter to basically say, you know, you better be calling this out in Parliament next week or what have you, that Daniel Andrews has been charged, because if she conceals it, then we can go and charge her for misprision of treason. And if those charges get laid, then those people can't make decisions in Parliament. How good is that? So there is still some hope in the law somewhere. I've got mosquitoes running around. The dog just pushed the door open and mosquitoes are coming in. But look, I'm certainly by no means an expert in the law side of things or what have you, and I'm probably not so articulate with my wording either. But that's okay. But we're all out there having a go, and you know, the main thing is and Matt was saying, you know, Matt Lawson was saying, we need to bring everyone together, you know, and for the journey that I've been in this, the time that I've been in this journey, I mean, obviously me and my mate were calling out 9/11 as an inside job, but we never really got too involved with whatever. But as soon as you know, this COVID thing, I smelt the same rat. And I've never worn a mask, and I've never had a test, and you know, whatever. I'm not bragging off to say that I worked, you know, I was awake before a lot of other people. I probably should have really woken up when 9/11 was on and really got into it, but I didn't. You know, I just yeah, well, inside job, bunch of criminals in America, whatever. But you know, but look, at the end of the day, you know, a lady was at one of our stand in the park groups or whatever we meet on the Sunday or whatever, and she's there bagging out some bloke that's been on the circuit for years and years, waking people up. And I said, well, what have you ever done? You know, I said, look, the bloke, you know, I said, let's not go and sort of bag out all these people about what they've, you know, because, you know, whatever. Let's just look for the good points in everything that someone does and bring that to the table. You know, let's not let's not look at all the bad things or whatever someone has done, but let's look at what people can bring to the table, you know, and that's the way these things will survive, you know, and grow, you know, if we just, you know, not point out people's shortcomings and just unite and collect, you know, collectively unite together. And yeah. So at this stage, I delivered this notice to Marianne Thomas, and I also followed up with a email letter, and I've given her a certified copy, which is I made myself the Postmaster General on it, and it's a self-binding contract to her. And I've also done it for 11 other senators, you know, and I've forwarded those documents to other people to do. And is it going to be the be-all and end-all? Is it going to stand up this fight against in the Constitution that Brian runs with the Crown removed from the Act repeals and Act Amendment and repeals and the Law Courts Act that was done in 2003 in WA? I don't know. There's a lot of roadblocks along the way, but all we can do, we have to put pressure on these people from every angle, and that's, you know, that's sort of, you know, where I'm at the moment. You know, I sort of, you know.
Yep. No, I agree with you, and I think, look, I haven't met Brian Shaw. That was one of the people Graham Jess was going to take me to meet that I never got to meet. But I agree with you on a lot of levels there. It's just, as I say, I've watched the same thing happen over and over with the law side of things and the political side of things. So from that aspect, I see it a bit different, but we don't have to agree. We only have to just keep moving forward in the same direction and pulling on the same rope. And that rope is that these bastards are corrupt and we want them gone. So whatever way we get rid of them, I don't care, right? If the QMS is the way, which I believe it is a very good way to do it.
Absolutely.
If Brian's way works, and look, if you can do it that way, the only problem that I think I can see in that is that you're working with corrupt judges, and you know there's a money factor to it, and then you've got the political factor to it as well. So Dan Andrews is a absolute, well, I'm not going to say it because there's ladies here and we know what he is, but as a prominent politician recently said to me, and this is a guy that's in Canberra all the time, he said, I don't understand how one of the people, we've had that many suicides in Victoria, why hasn't one of them gone and taken him out when they're killing themselves? Because it would have been pretty easy to do. Right now, I won't mention that politician's name, and I wouldn't recommend anyone goes and becomes a suicide bomber or anything. But you know, look, there's a truth in what he said, and for politicians in Canberra to actually raise that and say it to somebody like me, you've got to think, well, even they're aware of it, and what our federal government can't stop what's going on in a state.
Yeah, look, the other thing too is if there's enough of us are out there sort of getting this whole thing going about, you know, the Crown's been removed from the, and without referendum. So, you know, they're sitting, both the MPs and the law court judges are sitting there unlawfully. If enough is somewhere along the line and we can continue to lay these charges on these MPs and judges, somewhere along the line the mud will stick. But at the end of the day, like if anyone lives in and around Melbourne, Brian does a presentation every Wednesday night. I can put my email in the chat if you want to find out where. It's up in the Macedon Ranges. Come up on a Wednesday night. You can have a meal in the bar at the restaurant there, and they have a meeting out the back every Wednesday night. Listen to his presentation. I've also got other presentations that you can listen to. I'm not, like I said, I'm not hanging my hat on anything, Graham. You know, I like QMS, I like Brian, I like you know, Educate for Protection. I like the Crown group on the Monday night. You know, with Steve Chumley, I think he runs that, does he? Steve Chumley, whatever. Anyway, like I said, you know, it's important that we spread our wings and look at everything and work everywhere to get this going, you know.
Yeah.
So sure.
No, I get it, mate. No, I understand. And look, hey, if one of them is successful and you know, great. But again, does it really change anything at the government level? So even if we get, what happens when we get rid of Dan Andrews, and even if someone, say a suicide bomber took him out tomorrow, right? And that's not, and I'm not advocating that, all right, please. But say they did, right? What happens? Like happened with Berejiklian, and you end up with somebody else even worse being slotted in. There's a Dan Andrews in every country of the world, in every state. There is somebody ready to fill his role. You get rid of him. Sometimes I think, is it better the devil we know? So these are things that we all have to think about, you know, and as much as I hate Dan, well, I don't hate him. I think he's a dictator and I think he's a piece of rubbish. But yeah, as much as I don't like the guy and as much as he's a tyrant, you know, and I mean, I get his top fan badges all the time for swearing at him on his page and things like that and telling him he's a drug pusher and other things like that. And I recommend everyone does get on there and give him a bit of a hard time because it's actually really fun trolling people like him. That sort of thing, I've been banned. The one time I got a ban, I might mention too. It is a funny story. I called him the C word and many other words, which, but that didn't get me banned. I did that for ages, got his top fan badge. What got me banned was he had a bottle of scotch there with 2 scotch glasses. And I said, oh, that makes sense, Dan. You were drinking on the job. That's why you've made the decisions you've made this past year, isn't it? And that got me 2-week ban for bullying the Premier. I mean, really? He wouldn't want to walk in front of me because the things I would say directly to his face would be far worse than that. But, you know, is he that precious? Is he that worried about it? You know, how he looks with alcohol? Then he shouldn't put 2 scotch glasses and a decanter of scotch in his post saying, oh, I'm going to have these. And maybe he is drinking on the job. I don't know. You know, if I was him, I'm the most hated man in Australia. I'm pretty sure I'd have a nerve problem. So I'd probably want to drink on the job or something. But anyway, all of it aside, we just need to keep moving forward with what we're doing. We are bringing the right people together. We are getting things happening, and the discussions are happening. I mean, everything starts from a chat, but no journey is taken without the first step. So you have your talk, you decide your destination, and you start walking there. And I would say the QMS is probably, from the way I see it, 3/4 along the way that we need to go, right? Now, it might feel like I'm walking from Melbourne to Ayers Rock, but in the last 12 months, we've put a lot of work in and we've come a very, very long way. We started this with just a piece of paper, which was an idea. And now we actually have, thousands of people following us. We've got quite a big audience. We've got people working on different aspects of the system. We're starting to get the leaders actually creating things as well and coming into the groups and making suggestions. We don't chase people anymore. We've got people chasing us. Now they come to us. So I'm not on the phone trying to get in contact with this guy who never answers me back for weeks on end. We're finding they're coming to us now and saying, we've heard about this, we want to talk. And that's when you know you've got something that's worthwhile. And when you get infiltrators like we had earlier this year, and they do damage, and then you find them, and Maxwell Smart and 99 were removed, because that's how I refer to them now. I just think, I dealt with that. If they're what I believe they are and what a lot of people believe they are, it's like, they're not the greatest, and they've got a bit slack in their spycraft. So we will find that, we'll get infiltrated because we're doing something worthwhile. It's got people nervous. That's what happens, right? And it's happened to other people in the movement too, across the board. So it happens when you're on the right path. But when you're on the right path, other great things happen too. The right people pop up at the right time. The right things become available. I just have to have faith that we're heading in the right direction and that everything we need will come in at the right time. And so far, it has. So we've learned a lot of lessons along the way. I'm certainly a lot more knowledgeable. The only things I knew about law prior to this was just to keep my nose clean enough to try to stay out of the court. And it didn't work very often. I ended up in there a few times, but and then I'd have to pay lawyers to do it, and that's expensive. Or I try to represent myself, and then I get my butt kicked and handed to me on a platter. Right? It's not a fun thing to have to do. Nobody wants to be involved in all that sort of rubbish. I should be able to just stand in there and not need to speak legalese and be able to tell my story the way I tell it and have the court accept it and understand it. And I should be able to present evidence without being shut down for whatever reasons they make up at the time and points of law they create. It's just, we've got a crazy system, and it makes for a crazy country and a crazy world. And when all of a sudden you realize that we're not the crazy ones, our families might think we're crazy. You're not, you're spot on. And just don't fall for all the psyops out there. There's a lot of them. And like the psyops, sorry. And don't fall for don't believe everything you read everywhere, right? It's not always true, even from within the movement. Just really have discernment as best you can. And I've got to say, at times I've questioned mine, but be as discerning as you can and do the best you can. Come from a heart space, come from a point of truth. And at the end of the day, how can you be wrong? And as for law, we will have a legal system that actually, or a law system, I should say, that actually will work one day, but it'll be designed on the will of the people, and it'll be done through the correct path. And we believe we've found that now. We think that with the tribal nations on board and the people and the work that Dylan's doing and everybody coming together and unifying, I really don't think we're that far away from releasing our country and having our voices back and giving it back to the people. As I say, I reckon we're 3/4 of the way there. So there's still a lot to do, and it's a long, hard journey, but we'll get there. Sorry.
Graham, just got some links for anyone, teachers or students looking for schools online. You might have seen in the website, there's a lady, Natalie, responded to my Teachers Needed post, and you guys can do posts in there too, like anyone can. If you got information you want to share with people, like go to the website, go to the discussion group, or post a topic. So there's one called growtogetherschools.comschools.com. Okay, I'll put it in the chat. And what it is it's she said teachers and parents needed to sign up to this website. They're almost ready to put up their platform for teachers and families to set up private educational arrangements outside the system, which is what we wanted to do, right? So by me putting out that post, look what someone's provided. So like Graham was saying, the universe will come and answer us if we put it out there and ask the question. We'll get the answer, and there we go. It's already begun. They're just about ready to launch, and it's outside of the system, which what we want to do to give kids the real education, you know, that's worthy for our beautiful future of our heaven on earth, right? So they can learn about nutrition and all those things. There was another one for jobs that don't discriminate called aussieseekers.com. So there's lots of jobs going in there, or you can put out a post that you're looking for certain work. And I believe there's quite a few online jobs on that side as well. So just thought I'd share those two for everyone.
Cool. And look, if anyone wants any help with setting anything up on the QMS, if they want to run something through it or they're not sure, contact me through it. You can get in contact with us by emailing us at info@theqms.org. If you specifically put one of our names in there and say, I need to speak to Graham, Penny, Magic, Michelle, Tim, whoever, we'll forward that on to their direct email, whoever comes up with it, and they will at some point get to it, because you can imagine we are swamped. We've got a lot of stuff coming in, but we will get to it. We will talk to you. We will try and help you get whatever it is you're setting up. But anything you do, it can create. Now's the time to start creating. It really is. It's the time to bring everyone together, create and get the change that this country and world needs. As has been said, we've released the QMS in New Zealand as well, and we've got some guys over there starting to build that up. It's a slow uptake in the initial stages, but that's not surprising. So was this when I brought it forth here. Everything takes time, and it takes a lot of energy to make. So we've just got to all do it, do the best we can, and keep moving forward, because at the end of the day, you count, we all count. And if we can all come together in unity, we will win. And there's no doubt about that at all. Do you know the American Revolution was fought by 5% of the entire country on both sides? And that, what I mean, is 2.5% on each side. The other 95% sat out and waited for it to be won, right? Now, that's what we've got to do. And even if we become a stand-aside society where the QMS has a system and we declare ourselves like some sovereign name and under the tribes and that sort of thing, that's fine too, right? We can do that. There's nothing wrong with diversity in culture or diversity in life, but there's a problem when there's division, boxing, and labeling, and they're the things that I'm sick of, and they're the things we need to move away from. And I mean, I wear plenty of labels myself, and sometimes they're handy and sometimes they're not. But yeah, I'd really love to see us just accepted for who and what we are, to bring forth the things that we believe are right, and to make them work and happen. And every one of you is a leader in your own right. You all have, I'm sure you've got families, you've got friends, you've got things you do to help other people. These are all leadership qualities. And you don't even have to be very well organized. You bring people like Penny and Magic in to help you become organized when you're like me. So if you can write, if you can sell, if you can promote, do videos, just talk to people, network, discuss. Whatever you can is the right thing. And if you're doing it in the right way, you'll get results. Okay. So thank you, everyone.
And Graham, sorry, got to interrupt.
Sorry,
for
Magic.
the Melbourneites who are introverts and can't speak to people, we have some T-shirts coming. I've actually paid for them out of my own pocket. So there'll be unisex T-shirts. They'll have, do you trust the government on it? They have the QMS website, and then it'll have Give Australia Back to the People. So they will be coming. Contact me if you want one. Like I said, I've paid for these myself. For those introverts that really can't go out and have chats with people, go to the protests, wear the T-shirt, go to stand in the park, wear the T-shirt, go shopping, wear the T-shirt. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome, Magic. Thank you. And yes, I put my hand up for one of those too, please. And you should be charging for them. Is there a cost? Because if you've put your money into it, you should be probably getting it back at least.
I just put my passion into it. So.
Oh, well. Yeah, you're amazing, Magic. Thank you. We really appreciate that. And look, yeah, get in contact with Magic, and if you'd like that, or if you want to do something similar, she could possibly even provide you with a design or something. Maybe we should get some masks made up the same and start handing them out for free around the place at least. If we run the referendum, then this is the part a lot of people are going to look down their noses at me, but if we run the referendum, I'm going to need you guys helping us with that. And at that stage, I'm going to ask you to put on a mask and socially distance for a couple of days while we do it. Only because, and I'm not doing it for any reason other than we don't want to stand out as part of the movement when we run the referendum, right? I don't like masks. I've not worn one at all, right? We need to approach these people as them when we go there. If we go there without a mask and we won't social distance and we're trying to wake them up, they're not going to be interested in joining us and getting on board with what we're doing, because they've got their own beliefs and their own ways of looking at things, right? So if we want to win this, sometimes we have to wear a disguise in order to get in front of these people and to get the result that we need. And that at that stage, when we do the referendum, I know it's going to go against the grain with so many people. It goes against the grain with me, even to have to ask. But when we get to that stage, I will be asking that. So there's a little bit of a heads up. You don't always get to do, in my case, and be who you want to be. Sometimes you have to step outside that box and whatnot. But hey, it's for the betterment of our country. It's for my kids. It's for your kids. And it's so that one day we can have our voices back and actually be free again. And as I said, we're not that far away. We've just got to keep moving forward together and unifying as many under the one banner as we can. And we think we've got the right platform and banner to do that. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. If anyone's got any quick questions, we'll take one or two before we close up. But I think it's sort of, we've hit time, and we are actually trying to run these meetings efficiently and on time. And yeah, as you've seen in the past, I'm not that great at doing that. Time's not that important to me. Another fiction. But thank you all for coming. And again, much appreciated. And we'll see you at next week's meeting. Next time, bring 5 friends and see if you can get 5 people a day onto the QMS and convince them to bring 5 more. And I can tell you now, if we all did that, we're 10 days away from having the country back or having our referendum, because we could actually do it pretty quickly with that, as long as we could get the People's Treaty side of it up and going too. And that's the other thing. I encourage everyone, go and have a look at peoplestreaty.online. Check it out, read through it. Don't sign it without reading it. But if you agree and you align with the concept and what Dylan's trying to do there, and I genuinely believe this is the right way, please join, add weight to his numbers, and talk to people even on his side, because he's still getting the message out as well, and he's starting to promote us there too. There are other tribal nations that we're speaking to and different organisers, as I've said. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Craig was able to make it in tonight with his elders. He did say it would be a bit touch and go. Sometimes the broadband doesn't work out there where they are, and you know, it's sort of pretty remote location from what I've heard. But look, we're heading the right way. We've got the right people, and we really believe we've got the right system, and you people are all the right people too. So thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your ear, and thank you for your support. And we love you all, and we'll see you next week and on the website. So www.theqms.org for those that aren't already on there.
And we'll wait for Matthew Lawson's video.
Yeah, we'll get that out as soon as he gets that up. We will be sharing it everywhere. So, and I'll make a couple more this week too, Pen. I'm sorry, I know. I'm scared of getting in front of the camera. I got to get over it. You wouldn't know it tonight.
Just smile and wave.
I'll get there. But thank you all, and we'll again, I appreciate your support. I appreciate everyone's input. Did you want to have a quick question, Ursula, or yeah, come in. Sorry, before we close, I'll quickly.
Yeah, just a very quick idea I had going through my mind. Has anybody seen Ozzy Cossack?
Yes.
Is he a good idea to maybe chat with you and put it up on YouTube?
If anyone here can get me in contact with any influencers or can provide an introduction, a phone number, whatever, I will talk to anybody. I'm talking to politicians. We've been speaking to police officers. I have no concern about talking to anyone. As I've said before, if you can have a Nazi party and you can have a communist party, we're not even a party. We've just got a system that's direct democracy that we're out showing people. And There's nothing unlawful about what we do. So anyone at all, I'm happy to talk to. Even Dan Andrews. See, we don't want him in the QMS, but wouldn't it be interesting if we got him to quit politics and come on board with us just as I think we just push him just push him off a cliff. No, I'm not saying that. All right. Thanks, everyone. It's been a long day and a long night, but thank you. We really appreciate it. And thanks for that question, Ursula. That's great. We'll talk to anyone if they want to come and have a chat to them. Just send them our way. And they'll find us or we'll find them.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. Thanks. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.